षट्पदी अविनयमपनय विष्णु दमय मनः शमय विषय मृगतृष्टा भूतदयां विस्तारय तारय संसारसागरतः दिव्यधुनि मकरन्दे परिमल परिभोग सच्चिदानन्दे श्रीपते पदारविन्दे भवभयखेदच्छिदे वन्दे सत्यपि भेदापगमे नाथ तवाहं न मामकीनस्तं सामुद्रो हि तरङ्गः क्वचन समुद्रो न तारङ्गः उद्धृतनग नगभिदनुज दनुज कुलामित्र मित्र शशी दृष्टे दृष्टे भवति प्रभवति न भवति किं भवति रस्कारः मत्स्यादिभिरवतारैः अवतारवतावता सदा वसुधां परमेश्वर परिपाल्यो भवता भवतापभितोऽहम् दामोदर गुणमन्दिर सुन्दर वदनारविन्द गोविन्द भजलब्धि मथन मन्दर परमं दरमपनय त्वं मे नारायण करुणामय शरणं करवाणि तावकौ चरणौ इति षट्पदी मदीये वदनः सरोजे सदा वसतु इति श्रीमद् शङ्कराचार्य विरचितं विष्णुषट्पदी स्तोत्रं सम्पूर्णम्। नमो भगवते Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Namo Narayana. Narayana Bhagavan ki jai. Victory to Shri Narayana. Hello everybody, humble greetings, humble pranams, and special welcome to all of you. And thank you so much for joining with me today in day 77, session 77 of our 100-day Srimad Bhagavad Gita challenge. Our aim is to recite the entire Srimad Bhagavad Gita over the span of 100 days, 7 shlokas each day. Today, prior to commencing, we joined in offering this beautiful prayer dedicated to Mahavishnu, as composed by Shankaracharya, known as Shri Vishnu Shatapadi. Before we recite these divine verses of Srimad Bhagavad Gita, we join in the meditative stanzas, the dhyana shlokas, as dedicated to the glorification of Gita Mata. Hari Om, Hari Om, Hari Om. Shri Ganeshaya Namaha, Shri Saraswatyai Namaha, Shri Guru Charana Kamalabhyo Namaha. Pratibodhitam Bhagavata Narayana Swayam Vyasena Gratitam Purana Murina Madhye Mahabharatam Advaitamritavarshinim Bhagavatim Ashtadashadhyayinim Ambatvavarusandadhami Bhagavad Gita Bhagavad-vaishnim. Namo Sudevya Vishal Buddhe Ullarvinda Yatra Patta Netra Ena Tvaya Bharata Taila Purna Prajvalito Jnanamaya Pradeepaha Prabandha Parijataya Totra Vetra Kapane Jnana Mudra Krishnaya Gitamrita Dve Nama Sarvopanishado Gavo Dugdha Gopala Nandana Partho Vatsa Sudhir Bhukta Dugdha Gitamritam Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsa Chanur Mardhanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum Vishmadrona Tata Jayatata Jalagandhara Nilotpala Shalyagrahavati Krimena Mahanena Karnena Vilakula Ashwathama Vikarna Ghormakara Duryodhana Vartini Sutirna Kalopana Vairanadi Vaivardhaka Keshava Vara Sharvacha Sarojam Amalam Gitartha Gandhot Katham Nana Kyanaka Kesaram Harikatha Sambodhana Bodhidam Loke Sajjana Shatpadairahara Pepiyamanam Muda Bhuyat Bharata Pankajam Kaliman Pratham Shriha Shreyase Mukam Karoti Vachanam Pangum Langhete Girim Yatkripatamaham Vande Paramanandamadhamam Yam Brahma Varunindra Rudra Maruta Srimavanti Divya Istavaid Vedai Sangha Parakramopinishidai Karyantiyam Samana Dhyana Vasthitatargatena Manasa Pashyanti Yam Yogino Yasyadam Navinam Sudasudana Devaya Tasmai Namaha Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Narayanaya Gita Mata Ki Jai Gopal Krishna Bhagavan Ki Jai. Victory to Mother Gita, victory to Bhagavan Krishna. We now offer this hymn which offers the humble salutation to Mother Gita. जाते जय जय गीते जय व्यास जाते जय जय बर कल्याण गाते जय भगवद गीते माते तत्वज्ञाने शांति निधाने भव भयहारिणि सर्वगुण गणे सर्वगुण गणे गीते माते मुक्तिदायिनी शक्तिकारिणी शक्तिकारिणी देवकी तनय श्री भक्ति प्रचोदिनी जननी 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 भगवद्गीते माते जीवार्जुन मोह किल विषहारिणी देवकी तनय श्री कृष्ण चिंतामणि कृष्ण चिंतामणि जय भगवद्गीते माते आशा मोह स्वार्थ समारिणी दास के शबनुत हृदय विहारिणी हृदय विहारिणी जय भगवद्गीते 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 गीते माते हरि Victory to Mother Bhagavad Gita. In our previous session, dear friends, in chapter 14 of Srimad Bhagvad Gita, Gunatraya Vibhaga Yoga, this chapter of Srimad Bhagavad Gita which speaks on the division of the different gunas, or these different modalities of Prakriti. In our previous session, we stopped off at verse number 13 of chapter 14 of Srimad Bhagavad Gita, and today we continued our discussion from verse number 14 of chapter 14 of Srimad Bhagavad Gita. Shri Krishna, in explaining the term Sattva, Rajas, Tamas, at this stage he is now describing to Arjuna with the preponderance of the different modalities when death strikes, what is the destination of such an individual. So we continue from today with verse 14, where Sri Krishna is describing when that preponderance of sattva is there, what is the destiny of that individual. The Divine Lord, Master of this universe, this is what he says. Om Shri Paramatmane Namah Shri Bhagavan Vach, Shri Krishna Singh. Yada sattve pravriddhetu pralayam yati dehabrit tadotama vidam lokan amalan pratipadyate. Yada sattve pravriddhetu pralayam yati dehabrit tadotama vidam lokan amalan pratipadyate. When a man dies during the preponderance of sattva, he obtains the stainless ethereal worlds, heaven, etc., attained by men of noble deeds. We now see the direction in which the mental equipment of a dead one will move on after death. The types of thoughts entertained during our lifetime should determine the type of thoughts we will entertain soon after our departure from this physical structure. Sattva predominates, and it means one goes to the region of the knowers of the higher, when this modality is most dominant in the individual. And if you were to remember and recall in chapter 8 of Srimad Bhagvad Gita, entitled as Akshara Brahma Yoga, where Sri Krishna explained to Arjuna, Yam yam vapi smaran bhavan tajat tante kalevaram tam tame vaiti kaunteya sada tadbhava bhavitaha. Sada tadbhava bhavitaha. Meaning, whatever entity one thinks of in leaving the body at the time of death, that and that alone one attains, being ever absorbed in its thought. Yam yam vapi smaran bhavan tajat tante kalevaram tam tame vaiti kaunteya sada tadbhava bhavitaha. It is in considering that same message which was given at that time, Sri Krishna is now explaining with the preponderance of the different modalities throughout one's life, especially when one dies, that mode will determine certain features of where they go in the hereafter. One can see the logical layout and format of this discussion that Sri Krishna is engaging Arjuna in laying out what were the characteristics of the different gunas. He now goes on to explain further what happens if one dies during the preponderance of the other states. Rajasi pralayam gatva karma sangishu jayate tatha pralinatastamasi mudoyo nishu jayate. Rajasi pralayam gatva karma sangishu jayate tatha pralinastamasi mudoyo nishu jayate. Dying when Rajas predominates, he is born among those attached to action. Even so, the man who has expired during the preponderance of tamas is reborn in the species of the deluded creatures, such as insects and beasts. Death during Rajas really means one who is attached to action. That is that state of Rajas. The mind will seek and successfully discover a field or body where it can completely exhaust its existing tendencies or these vasanas. Death during tamas means one goes to lower realms of irrational beings such as the animal and even the plant kingdom, since one would be in that state which is best suited in that field or that body or that form. Many may consider this and believe that if one deliberately tries to create that modality of sattva or rajas or tamas, or one can live a life where there is one modality which is most predominant namely rajas or tamas, and nearing that moment of death, one can deliberately get into that mode of sattva and then have death happen where one goes to higher state. This is easier said than done. Whatever is the most dominant state throughout one's life, most likely will be that dominant state when death happens. There is no escaping that. The mind itself would be trained to generate thoughts of a certain kind. And even when death happens, without second thought, that mind would snap into that nature or that modality which it has been running in for the past however long. So there is no escaping that, which is why one is advised to lift that mind out from the lower states and get it to that higher state of sattva, and then take it even beyond the gunas. Because we have established these gunas, guna means rope, and these gunas have a binding effect. So it isn't to get attached to that state or that modality, but to be beyond that. Sri Krishna now further goes on to explain other features of these gunas, and when actions are done with the predominance of these gunas, what are the outcomes? Karmanah sukritasyahu satvikam nirmalam phalam rajasastu phalam dukkham ajnanam tamasa phalam. Karmanah sukritasyahu satvikam nirmalam phalam rajasastu phalam dukkham ajnanam tamasa phalam. The reward of a righteous act, they say, is sattvic, which is faultless in the form of joy, wisdom and dispassion, etc. Sorrow is declared to be the fruit of a rajasic act, and ignorance the fruit of a tamasic act. This tamas engulfs one in inertia or wicked deeds which prevents one from making upward progress. Rajas is the one instrument to save one from stagnation and leads one to prosperity. It drives one to action, but karma brings with it misery also. This misery helps to build character and helps one to soar to that higher state of sattva. This ego and agitations, they are the impurities in the mind. With bad actions, it increases these agitations and the ego worsens. When good actions or righteous actions are done, the mind is quietened and the agitations too are reduced. This rajas leads one to pain, and this pain is linked and connected to desires and attachment. Many a times, to relieve our pain, we seek to fulfill desires. In some cases, we see that close connection between desire and pain. We think our pain will be relieved if we fulfill a desire. And many times we fulfill a desire and pain follows. Attachment follows. We face pain with the loss of something we would have desired, or with the inability to fulfill that desire, we feel pain. We feel attachment when we fulfill that desire, and feel pain if that object of that desire to which we are attached, it is taken from us, or it is faulted, or there is some problem with that object or person, depending on the situation, of course. Tamas leads one to ignorance. This tamas is associated with dullness in action, heedlessness, illusion. This illusion really is that state of tamas. Sattva, that dynamic quietude, is that overwhelming quality which is associated with sattva. Sri Krishna further goes on to say, Sattva sanjayate jnanam rajaso lobha evacha pramada moho tamaso bhavato ajnanam evacha. Sattva sanjayate jnanam rajaso lobha evacha pramada moho tamaso bhavato ajnanameva cha. Sri Krishna is saying, wisdom follows from sattva. Greed follows undoubtedly from rajas. While likewise, obstinate error, stupor and ignorance follow from tamas. Sattva brings one to this state of wisdom, which really is the mind and the intellect. Rajas fuels this greed, which really is connected to desires, which further bring about agitations in the mind, which is why one is not encouraged to stay in that mode of rajas. Tamas, through its illusion, through its ignorance, it fuels one getting further deluded. This ignorance is worsened, one practices heedlessness, and really one's discrimination, which is characteristic of this tamas, is veiled. Sri Krishna further goes on to say, Urdhvam gacchanti sattvastha madhye tishthanti rajasaha jaganya gunavrittistha adho gacchanti tamasaha. Urdhvam gacchanti sattvastha madhye tishthanti rajasaha jaganya gunavrittistha adho gacchanti tamasaha. Those who abide in the quality of sattva wend their way upwards, while those of a rajasic disposition stay in the middle, and those of a tamasic temperament, enveloped as they are in the effects of tamogun, they sink down. True sattva, which is one's inclination to enjoyment, one rises to that celestial world which is associated with this enjoyment. This human experience is given to many who are also in the state of sattva, especially if they follow that path of knowledge, where discipline and discrimination become dominant in the life of such an individual. If one is predominant with this rajas as a predominating feature of that mind, it means one becomes stagnated in a way where it's the same factors all the time, and one is awaiting the dawn of this discrimination. One is awaiting the silencing of desires to lift one to the other higher state of awareness. With tamas, that individual wallows in the nether regions because they are fueled by ignorance and there are many misconceptions. All of this really is to say, based on the level of consciousness of the individual, they will then be awarded or rewarded with a body which is most suitable, which would allow them to demonstrate those distinct dominant features best. So if one demonstrates inactivity, ignorance, then more than likely with little evolution mentally, spiritually, then we are looking at a stone, and going up along that evolution chain, it is plant, animal, human, and humans are further categorized, and all of that is based on one's consciousness, one's awareness, and the amount of ignorance one is constricted by. So in increasing consciousness, one will proceed to higher and higher states of human existence, which is why this human life, this human experience is considered so special, is considered to be so rare, for it allows us to really break that cycle and get out from this repeated cycle of birth and death, get out from this world and really merge into that state of supreme awareness. The guna represents bondage. It is a rope, it means rope. Therefore one is advised to transcend all these gunas and establish oneself in this spirituality and not aim for the products of the gunas, but really aim for moksha, which is liberation from these gunas. Sri Krishna further goes on to say, Nanyam gunebhyah kartaram yada drishthanupashyati gunebhyascha param veti madbhavam sodhigacchati. Nanyam gunebhyah kartaram yada drishthanupashyati gunebhyascha param veti madbhavam sodhigacchati. When the discerning person sees no one as the doer other than the three gunas and realizes me, the Supreme Spirit, standing entirely beyond these gunas, he enters into my being. How clearly Sri Krishna here says what he is aiming for us to really get into. Prakriti really is the agent for all karmas. Prakriti is what drives us to act. The gunas is none other than this very Prakriti. The gunas are held as the agents for all activities, and no matter where they take place, it is really the gunas as the cause. The senses and modifications and the objects of the senses, they are all the gunas. To ascend from the lower to the higher gunas is the aim, and ultimately to go beyond, meaning tamas, rajas, until one gets into sattva and then goes beyond even sattva. There is no karma nor agency in that state when one is beyond the gunas. The spirit identifying itself with the body and riding on the mind and the intellect, dancing to the moods of the mind determined by these three gunas, takes that individual along a ride where one misses the entire purpose of this existence, and one remains stuck in this repeated cycle of birth and death, and one never understands the true mystery of this existence. To stand apart from the mind by ending all our identifications with it is to get complete freedom from the thraldom of our thought entanglements. Meditation is the act of disentangling ourselves from our own thought processes within, which is the very art of meditation. At that time, one is no longer an object of perception, but the subject that perceives. The gunas direct and govern the entire thought life at all times in every one of us. Therefore, the gunas, they really comprise the minds of individuals of distinct and differing temperaments. Essentially, it is for us to address these gunas. He who has understood this is not the reflection of his own mind, but that which is reflected therein, something other than the mind, and therefore something higher than the gunas. He is the one who has escaped forever the shambles and shackles of all limitations and the tears of all sorrows and sighs of disappointment. That one who truly realizes that the indweller and the gunas are separate from each other. Gunaneta nritya trin dehi deha samudbhavan janma mrityu jada dukhair vimukto amritamashnute. Gunaneta nritya trin dehi deha samudbhavan janma mrityu jada dukhair vimukto amritamashnute. Having transcended the aforesaid three gunas which have caused the body and freed from birth, death and old age and all kinds of sorrow, the embodied soul attains supreme bliss. This is Sri Krishna making this declaration. The gunas constitute the causal body. Each body is the exact instrument given for the full expression of the subtle body. This dehi, which is mentioned in the verse, really means the embodied. The nature and the texture of the causal body consisting of the gunas is truly what we need to realize. It is therefore evident that those who have gone beyond the gunas are no more under the tragedies of the subtle and causal bodies. Matter changes forever. This we know. Form always changes. The body is subject to these: birth, growth, decay, disease, death. But the indweller never goes through any of these changes. One who realizes that this is separate from him truly sees. We could remember when we were a child. We could remember primary school days, preschool days. Perhaps we may be able to remember when we grow old. At no point in time, although the body would have changed, the rememberer of all of this, that active thought process which is being done by that indweller, isn't changing. It is that same person who would have experienced all of that. It is the body though which changes. So it is simply for us to be aware that there is a big difference between the body and that awareness or that consciousness within the body. This is all that this chapter is trying to help us understand, and this section of Srimad Bhagavad Gita. The state of bliss which follows from recognition of this fact is a vivid experience of the changeless infinite nature. One is called Jivan Mukt if one is free from this body consciousness, even whilst embodied. The verse which mentions Dehi, meaning the embodied, is really for us to know that it is possible for us to get to that realization even whilst embodied. It isn't impossible. It isn't impossible. So with this here, friends, it brings today's session to an end. Special blessings and thanks to all for joining. Continue to read Srimad Bhagavad Gita, continue to practice Srimad Bhagavad Gita, and continue to share the teachings of Srimad Bhagavad Gita amongst all. And let us help to bring about that much needed transformation through the recitation of Srimad Bhagavad Gita and spreading it, sharing it with all. Again, thank you and Jai Shri Ram.